Hey, I think we're live. Welcome everyone to the Talkin' Ripple live stream. I see we got a couple people on with me. Thanks for joining. I'm running this thing by myself tonight, so I will not be able to necessarily see everybody that's watching, but we are currently broadcasting live on Facebook, YouTube, my YouTube channel, and Periscope. So if you are out there, I am so grateful that you are here, and I'm excited to be here tonight and share a little bit, I guess probably a little bit of insight as to what's going on here in the Ripple world and some exciting news about our launch of the upcoming third edition of the Ripple Effect, which I'm pretty jazzed about. Super, super, super excited. And you guys have been great. I actually got questions since I announced this earlier this week, but I've been getting questions throughout today as well. So I've got quite a few that I'm going to try and get through in the next hour or so. I certainly appreciate you guys joining. If you have comments and you want to post your questions, I promise I'm going to do my best to post those in real time. I am going to be monitoring that throughout the evening. So, hey, thanks again for joining and just being here. So if you happen to be there and you want to post a question, just drop a comment. I believe Facebook will automatically bring it into the stream for us. And worst case, if you're on YouTube, I will, I think the questions will get here. I'm not really sure. I need smarter people running it than me. But anyway, if I happen to miss your question, you post on Facebook, or excuse me, on YouTube, I will be happy to get to those as quickly as possible. So anyway, a couple of things that I wanted to share about what I'm doing and why we're doing this live stream. A lot of people have asked about the book. I wrote a book called The Ripple Effect, Maximizing the Power of Relationships for Life and Business. This is not a commercial, but it is the purpose for me being here. I am super excited about the release of this particular book. If I just didn't drop it. See, this is the magic of live stuff. Man, oh man, we're already off the rails. Anyway, wrote this book a number of years ago, and it was really designed as a tool and a resource for people that were maybe struggling with networking a little bit and were really trying to figure out a better way to connect and engage. And I kind of thought, to be honest with you, I'm gonna write this book. Maybe a few of my closest friends will buy the book, and then I'm gonna have all this extra inventory. And so my dad will graciously take that off my hands, be good kindling or something, right? And that was in 2005. And I was amazed at where that little book went because we had a really ugly cover and not exactly the end product I was hoping for. But yet it found its way into multiple hands that I was just blown away. And this concept kind of grew. Kind of like a ripple does, right? And it rippled out. It rippled in ways that I couldn't possibly imagine. And it just was super, super awesome to see how it just kind of took off. So in 2010, we doubled down our efforts and we put out a second edition. And it has just, it's gone great. The book has just been successful on every scale. It's in major universities. It's being used by entrepreneur mentor programs. It's found its way into hands that I can't even tell you how they got there, but it's been around the world. It's been great. And so the book continues to sell and do well. And a lot of people have asked me why bring out a third edition. Can't you come up with some original material? I promise I'm going to write another completely new book, new genre. I actually have one 70% done, and I just can't get over that hump. And, but there was still work to be done on this third edition, I felt. And there were more Ripple stories to share and tell. And there was, of course, some new content that was relevant to today's time, right? We're all in a different world than we were even 7 months ago with the pandemic. And people are struggling to figure out how to make the best of a bad situation. And a lot of times, whether you're a corporate leader or whether you are an individual that is just trying to find your way to connect. Now that we don't have that ability to have a physical coffee or get together for a meal or hang out at events, people are really struggling in a lot of ways. And that has been a big, huge challenge for people. And it just felt right during the pandemic to actually address that and to actually try and figure out a way to, bring some strategies to the forefront for people to connect in these very unusual, unexpected times. And so really at the end of the day, that was kind of my goal, was to bring this out in a way that allowed people to think about how to connect when we don't have the ability or the luxury of physical contact with one another. We can't see each other. We're relying on each other on tools like this, whether we're on Zoom or some sort of virtual environment, to actually connect and engage. And that's perfectly fine and great. But how do you do it authentically? And how do you do it where you can have the same results, whether it's build your own personal or professional network, or you're trying to establish that baseline of relationships with your team, if you're trying to manage or lead virtually, all that good stuff. It's one of those things that is a challenge for a lot of people. So in this edition of the book, we tackle that. That's really the goal behind it. So anyway, we're going to talk a little bit about that tonight, and I appreciate all of you that are joining. I see some stuff coming in on YouTube. I'm looking at my other laptop here. So let's just jump in. Let's get some questions up here. So we got a question, looks like from Christina. What tips would you have? And I apologize, I'm kind of have a camera in front of me and I'm trying to look into my big screen. What tips would you have for someone wanting to write a book? I'm a big fan of yours, by the way. Krista from Austin. I think I know who this Krista is, and thank you so much for being a fan. I really appreciate that. I don't have that many, I don't think. So I love and worship the ones that I do have. What tips would you have for someone wanting to write a book? It's a great question. It's not easy. Everybody, I think, has a book in them, and everybody has the ability to figure out how to tell a story. And I would say probably the biggest advice I would give you is just got to start writing. For me, when I started the process in 2005, I kind of had it was late 2004. I had a little concept, a little idea that I really wanted to bring to fruition. And from there, I just wanted to get those words out on paper so that I had something I could look back on. And I never really anticipated it to be a book, but what I really did was I just showed up authentically for myself every morning and just started cranking on this. And we went through the process of looking at, as most authors do, as you start to think about looking at a book. I went and got all the self-help books on how to write. I went and figured out how to try and get an agent and get with some publishing house. And then I started asking a lot of questions to people that had already done it, and asked what they liked about the process, what they didn't like about the process. I got a lot of unique perspectives. But I would say the biggest thing, Krista, that I did was I just committed to the process of writing. And I think if you're interested in writing a book, that's the first step, is find something you think has value and is compelling. And that can be a fiction or nonfiction genre. It's fine, doesn't matter. But at the end of the day, as long as you're committed to the subject and the topic, then I think you're going to find that the process, at least in getting the idea onto paper, will be a little bit easier. Probably the next bit of advice I would give you, or a tip that I would say, is not only write every day, but utilize your time by carrying around a journal or something to write and capture these ideas, because they come to you in the most odd times. But you'll be like in a meeting, and all of a sudden something will be like, oh my God, I need to put that into the book. So you just jot it down and write it down. And for me, stuff was coming to me in the middle of the night. Stuff was coming to me during the day. I'm very rarely not within reaching distance of my journal all the time. And so that is a big factor, because you never know where those ideas are going to kind of germinate and how they're going to form, and then ultimately where they're going to go. So I would say that would be one tip that I would highly recommend, is write every day, and then keep your journal at hand for the great ideas and when inspiration strikes. Let's see here. We got another one from Julie. All right. I'm a teacher. I follow you. I follow your Ripple Thoughts on Twitter and find them fascinating. Well, thank you. I know your book is for business people, but could a teacher benefit from it and leverage it in a classroom or in the classroom? Julie, absolutely. I have a lot of teachers that follow me on Twitter. I have a lot of teachers that have engaged with me to do some special stuff with their classrooms. I've got a good friend that is now a retired teacher, Sheila McCone, that is actually in the book. Believe it or not, it's a Ripple story we added to this latest edition. So I'm super excited for her to see it. She's going to get that book in the next day or two. And we connected on Twitter initially and sort of developed this friendship and connection. And for her last year and a half when she was teaching, we found a way to utilize the Ripple concept to really get her kids, her second graders, to really understand the concept of rippling and the power of doing things good and nice for people. How to, identify maybe kids that are maybe being bullied or not being included. And the Ripple, for me, it's not just about better connection. It's about taking positive steps, creating positive actions out there in the world to create the kind of world we want to have. And God, do we need that right now? Holy crap, do we need that right now? But for kids, especially in the classroom, and it doesn't matter how young or how old, I think it absolutely has some applicability there. There is no doubt in my mind. I appreciate the question, Julie. I would absolutely say there's all sorts of stuff that you can use. And one of the best ways, hopefully, my Ripple Thoughts of the Day that I put out on Twitter, if you're not following me, by the way, at Ripple On, if you are, if you want to just start there, sharing some of those ideas. I know a lot of the teachers that follow me actually put them up on the blackboard. Do they have blackboards anymore? Maybe whiteboards. I don't know. It's been a while since I've been in a class, but they put it up on a board. I have one teacher that actually writes them out, and I have another teacher that's actually created a Ripple wall. So obviously things are a little different right now because a lot of kids are maybe not back in the classroom, or it's a very different in teaching and learning environment. But it doesn't mean that you can't continue to leverage those in some capacity to create a positive conversation, create a positive thought. And you'd be amazed even how young kids are, how perceptive they can be about this concept, and really how they'll step up for their classmates and maybe think about doing things different. So thanks for that question, Julie. I really appreciate it. So if you have questions, feel free to put them in the comments. I'm going to try and monitor and maintain that. I would love to hear any questions that you might have about the book, the process, what the heck the Ripple is, any of that good stuff. I've got a couple of questions that we have got queued up that I wanted to share. And so let's go with this next one by Bob. Bob, I think is Bob Richards, UT Hook'em, baby. I think my buddy. How do you juggle so many companies and have time to write a book? Good question, Bob. I do not sleep very often. I actually, no, I sleep more now than I ever did. I am really good at trying to figure out how to compartmentalize my time and where to invest my intention. A good friend of mine, Mara Thomas, wrote a book called Attention Matters, and it really does, because the way that you get things done, like writing a book, to go back from Krista's question earlier, dedicating the time and carving that out in your schedule to actually work on that every day or a couple of times a week, super critical and important. For me, it's about figuring out what my high priority things are on a given day and how to leverage it. So I run 3 companies, 2 software, and of course Ripple. So give you a breakdown of what those look like. The 2 software companies are kind of intertwined, and they kind of are, they're kind of my passion because we're really doing some great stuff with these products. They're software as a service businesses. And so I have built a good team that allow me the flexibility to step away from time to time to focus on other things. And then for Ripple, I do a lot of coaching. I do a lot of consulting. And of course, when we're actually at a live event or maybe even virtual, doing a lot of speaking and training around the concept for corporations and organizations. And I just really get very specific about budgeting my time. And so I think for how I juggle it is just to be very, very protective of my time and my efforts, because when I'm able to do that, I think that's pretty key to me being at least somewhat successful in trying to control and wrangle the alligators of attention. So that was a great question, Bob. I appreciate that one. We have a question on Bitcoin. So this is really interesting because when I brought out Ripple a while ago, gosh, I have been rippling since 2005 when first edition of the book came out. There wasn't anybody that used the word Ripple. There wasn't anybody that was talking about the ripple effect. There wasn't any of that. And now it's everywhere. So I am going to say, Christine from Toronto, go Raptors. I would say congratulations on your championship, but that was last year. Sorry. LeBron kind of won it this year. Anyway, I would say, no, we're not Ripple Bitcoin. I have nothing to do with Ripple Bitcoin. Also, I have nothing to do with the Ripple app app, which happens to be a dating app by Tinder. You don't know how much stress and frustration that has caused me to be somewhat intertwined as Ripple with those situations. That is no bueno. I wish I could trademark the Ripple. I wish I could trademark the Ripple effect. I wish I could trademark aspects of the Ripple on and different angles there. I can't. People get me confused all the time or think that I'm doing some sort of relationship marketing kind of thing for the Bitcoin. It's not any of that. And I certainly am not trying to figure out how to help you guys hook up via the Ripple Tinder app. If that's even around. I don't even know if it's still around, but I do know that there was a lot of confusion about that a couple years ago. But I am not at all affiliated with Bitcoin Ripple at all. I wish they would stop using the name and prostituting the value of the concept of the Ripple. It just drives me bonkers. Looks like we got something in. Carol Whitaker is in the house. Swim lanes, parallel paths, incremental effort, complementary subjects help strengthen the project. I agree. Absolutely. You have to figure out what your path is. I think Carol's commenting on the last question that I had from Bob Richards, figuring out how to prioritize my time and my efforts, how to juggle the 3 companies that I run. And she's absolutely right. You know, figuring out what I'm doing and how I'm doing it. I appreciate you actually saying that, Carol, because I know you know me well and know what I'm up to and what I'm doing. But the kind of unique thing about what I do with all the companies, ventures that I have currently is there's a little bit of Ripple in every single one of them because they're all about communication. They're all about relationships. They're all about figuring out how to strengthen and value and create the components that make things happen and make it better. And so Carol is, thank you for that, Carol. Carol's really good to understand and know that my passion has no boundaries. And I speak Ripple with my tech geeks all the time in the software world. I tell it to my customers. In fact, I was on a long marathon demo today for a customer, and how much of it kept coming back to it's all about relationships. It's all about components there and all those aspects. Thank you, Carol. I love you too. Carol, by the way, has hooked me up with just a badass amplifier because she didn't realize that I was so desperate to become the next Eddie Van Halen that and she was getting rid of one. And now I don't think my wife is a big, huge fan of yours, Carol, because I am rocking the house. Not well, not even close to being good, but I am loud, which it makes it seem that I'm good, which is pretty cool. Nicole Sweeney, how's it going? So proud of you. Thank you. Keep rippling. You're changing the world one ripple at a time. Thank you so much for that. I greatly, greatly appreciate it. Gosh, that means the world to me. It really does. I am so appreciative of that. I'm trying the best that I can do. And people ask me all the time, why I'm so passionate about this concept, because I know what a difference it can make in your personal and professional life. And that's absolutely, absolutely why I'm committed and focused to do what I'm doing. And I see Carol putting up some emojis. Thank you so much for those. If you guys have any questions, please toss them out there. I am going to go to our next question from a reader. I saw you last year at a conference. You totally changed my perspective on the power of connecting. I just wanted to say thank you for that. And I can't wait to read the new book. Cindy Ann from New Mexico. Awesome. My hometown, or my home state. I'm assuming, Cindy, you were at the conference that I spoke at last year. And we had a great time doing that event and having some laughs about subjects of Brian Urlacher, Footloose, the original movie. And we were talking about Breaking Bad. And so we had some things that we built off. I talk a lot about connection points, and you have to know your audience. And I happen to have 3 very specific items that I was talking to that was relevant to that audience right there in New Mexico, which I enjoyed immensely. So thank you so much for that, Cindy Ann, for being there. And I appreciate those very, very kind words. Next question. With all the bad that has happened in 2020, is it hard for you to be so positive every day? I'm going to move this just slightly because I'm having a hard time seeing the questions as they come in. Another problem with getting old is you can't see. And even though I've got the big iMac behind this, you can't see all my setup and my cool stuff going on here. I've got this big iMac, but the screen is still just a little bit too little. Anyway, so all the bad that's happened in 2020, is it hard to be positive every day? Well, here's the deal. What's your choice? What choice do you have but to be positive, right? You can be negative and you can just be like doom and gloom. You know, the pandemic's never ending. This political crap is never going to stop. The social and racial unrest is never going to get any better. And how does that suit you? Doesn't. What I have chosen to do is I don't ignore it. I don't bury my head in the sand. I've been accused of that. That's not true at all. I'm very well read. I'm very up and up to date on the news, and I pay attention to a lot of these factors. And what I would say is that, you know, if these things are such a challenge, it's going to take positive people that are going to dig us out of it. And so I'm a big believer that you've got to show by example. You got to live the life that you are intended to live. And for me, I believe that's to be able to spread peace, love, and positivity. That's what it is. And so when I'm encountering resistance or issues in the world, I'm doing my best to counter that out with, you know, something positive. Sometimes that comes back to bite me in the, you know what, sometimes it doesn't. But I hope, get people to think sometimes. I know I've had a few people that have accused me about not being political or not sharing my insights about what I think is happening relative to the craziness that's going on. And I have entered into the fray a little bit. And I will say that it's amazing how quickly they don't pay attention to you when you say positive stuff. You say anything remarkably close to like somewhat controversial, man, they are on. It's amazing. The power of social media to like take you from here to here is pretty significant, which, you know, is unfortunate, right? Great tool, great resource. And unfortunately, people use it to, you know, to knock other people down. And I just, I choose not to participate in that. So when I look at the things that I say that are happening, you know, there's a lot of people that can't say this about 2020. Some people didn't get out of this year with their lives. And that's a very, very unfortunate situation. But I will say, I get up every day. I have air in my lungs. I've got family that's, knock on wood, healthy and happy and, you know, presently financial secure, which is good. And I choose to build from there. And if it's the war that I've got to take, it's the war on negativity by countering it with the positivity that I possibly can. So it's peace, love, and positivity for me. So we got another comment from Carol. Can you talk about rippling to reach a tipping point, enabling paradigm shifts in culture thinking? Oh my gosh, you're putting me on the spot here, Carol. Rippling to reach a tipping point, paradigm shifts in cultural thinking. So I'm assuming you're meaning cultural in corporate culture, I think, but you could be meaning in other aspects. I would say, you know, rippling to a certain degree, rippling itself is actually enabling the paradigm shift in a large way, because I think just the fact that you're willing to step outside your comfort zone, get outside of your box to create meaningful connection with another person. It's so odd and so rare these days that actually happens, that can potentially be the one step towards the shift in perspective that is needed. And I think whether you're talking about how to engage more collectively at work to create a culture of engagement and you know, impact an organization, it works. I think if you're trying to have a different conversation about differences between, you know, someone being Black and someone being white and how they interact and how they deal with one another in the grand scheme of this challenging time in that, you know, there's a lot of unrest relative to racial tension. And I think part of that starts with your ability to look beyond skin color, beyond religion, beyond political view, and your ability to connect with and engage with the other person. And I think it works out there in the regular world. I think it works within our corporate world. And I think it especially works with our families and our own personal friendships. And I don't know if I quite answered your question. I hope I didn't seem like I danced around it at all. I was just trying to kind of be all encompassing because I look at cultural thinking in a couple of different perspectives. So I was trying to be a little bit well-rounded there. So I hope I got it. If I didn't, please leave me a comment and tell me to clarify, or pull my head out or whatever. So let's see. Karen Mulholland says, thank you for what you do. I'm so glad we are connected. Me too, Karen. I appreciate our relationship. I think we're on both Twitter and Instagram, and I appreciate your positive comments to me. I know that you have utilized it for some of your team, I think, at your company, to utilize some of the Ripple thoughts of the day. And that just means the world to me when you send me those messages and say, this one resonated, this one really struck home and really had something of meaning to me. I thank you so much to that. I appreciate it. And along that lines, just so everybody's kind of aware of what we're doing tonight. I mean, in case you just happen along here and you're like, why is this guy just talking into the camera? Well, I mean, my wife won't let me come home and talk to her, just in general. I mean, I got to do this, somewhere out here. Right. So, I had somebody that actually sent me a little text and said, talk about where you're at. Are you at home? Thank you for that. By the way, I am in my office, for my company. I am in my studio, and yes, I'm one big kid. So back here, you see Boba Fett, cross my shoulder that way. Yeah, that way. I don't know. That way is Kylo Ren. In the corner, you see, is Darth Vader, and I got a bunch of comic book stuff. If you saw my office, it's just filled with stuff. People are like, are you a big kid, or like you have a maturity problem? Well, yes and yes. I actually have a lot of these things around me because, believe it or not, these little, things that I have on my desk, like R2D2, or stand by, a brick phone, or stand by. How about, yeah, Napoleon Dynamite with a Captain America shield. Yes, I'm a big kid. Yes, I love these things. But I would say there's something tactile about it that actually inspires and motivates me. And so I can come in here and I can think about what I want to do, what I want to accomplish, maybe what I want to write. And somehow, some way, this stuff just anchors me. And I have just a ridiculous amount of stuff that I've collected over the years. And I continue to add to it because every single time I get something, it makes me smile. I can tell you pretty much where I got it, what or who inspired me to get it, and what it actually means to me. Now, the people that work at my office, this is like, hey, anybody can come and use the studio, but nobody feels real comfortable to do it because they're like, you've got so much cool stuff in there. I don't want to be accused of it breaking or something. It's like, no, just come in. But, hopefully when this whole pandemic thing ends, we can have you all come up here. You can see there is a serious side to my office, and then there is this side, which is where I tend to spend most of my time, jacking around with a Rubik's Cube or sitting on a conference call while I'm looking out the window, looking at a Star Wars figure, and then trying to come up with big solutions to problems. So that's what I do. Yeah. So yes, Carol said, thanks. I seem to have captured her question in a good manner. So that's awesome. I feel good about that. So yes, and thanks for texting and, making sure that people knew that I wasn't just sitting in my house, and that my house looks like this. I'm a big comic book fan. I love that stuff. It just gives me pleasure. And to me, it actually brings and harnesses my creativity. So that's the component there. So let's see here. I'm seeing some interesting questions come in. All right. I've heard you reference connection points on your podcast. Could you share more about how you came up with that? Okay. Well, let me define a connection point and what that is. This book, by the way, The Ripple Effect, Maximizing Power of Relationships, your third edition, is available for sale on my website, ripplecentral.com. I'll tell you why it's not on Amazon yet here in just a minute. But part of this is actually a connection point. Actually, this cover right here is kind of a connection point. Let me define a connection point, and then I'll tell you the story. So connection points are anything that you learn about somebody, these little bite-sized morsels of information you learn about people that you kind of file away, and it makes them unique to you. And I was actually scheduled to meet a designer, a cover designer, to redo my book for the second edition. And this is back when we had Seattle's Best Coffees. And I was there and I was waiting. And it got, 10 minutes past when she was supposed to be there. There was 15 minutes past when she was supposed to be there. And she didn't show. And so I called her office, and her office said, oh, no, she's at like yoga this morning. Oh, okay. Well, that's weird, because I had a meeting with her to talk to her about my book cover. And you could tell instantly they were like, oh my God, I'm going to get fired because I shared the truth about where she's at. And I'm like, well, that's cool. Maybe she can call me whenever she gets back from yoga, but I'm not going to hang out. I'm just bailing. And so I hung up my phone that day, and I'm just sitting there, and I'm frustrated because she was the one that actually asked me to be there at a certain time. It was actually at a location that wasn't super convenient for me, and it was kind of a pain in the you-know-what. But I got there. I went there, got my coffee. I waited. I was early. Fortunately, I brought my laptop, so I was getting work done. But the fact that I was getting stood up by this person who was now at yoga was kind of irritating me, especially when she had made it difficult for me in the first place. But I sat there and I had one of those moments. We've all had those moments where you're kind of like, you sit here and be pissed off about this, or you could do something about it. Leverage this time differently. And I'm like, that's pretty astute. I don't have a lot of astute things that come up, but that was pretty astute. So I closed my laptop and I just started looking around, and literally right next to me was this guy, big, huge guy. And he's in this little tiny computer, and he's working so feverishly, but he had this really, really cool sticker on his laptop. And he saw me looking at him, and he kind of stopped. And I smiled and I said, hi, how's it going? He said, good. I said, I couldn't help but notice your sticker on your laptop. What is that? He's like, oh, this is a symbol that I created. I'm like, oh, really? He's like, yeah, I do logos and all this other stuff. And yeah, I'm here working on a client's thing because I got a pitch meeting, a couple hours or something. And I'm like, wait, you're a graphic designer? Yeah. Hi, I'm Steve. And the rest was history. Mac McRae has been my cover designer since then. He did this design for the second edition. We altered it and adjusted it for the third edition, badged it, made it look a little bit different. And literally, he has been a friend of mine. I've sent design work to him for a long time, and just the nicest, greatest guy you could ever meet. And if it wasn't for being stood up by the one graphic artist who had more important things to do, like yoga, which, by the way, your health is important. I get that. Just don't make an appointment with somebody and then stand them up because you're going to yoga. Schedule better. But Mac and I never would have met had I not done two things. I decided I wasn't going to be pissed off, and I was going to just change my outlook a bit. Close my laptop, not just shove it in my bag and take off. I was going to look up and look out. And that's a big, big aspect of what that process is. So a connection point, Laura, is anything you learn about somebody that you can leverage to build the relationship from there. Our connection point was his sticker, his laptop, a smile, an introduction, eventually a book cover, now 2 book covers, and the rest is history. So think about connection points from the perspective of what you've learned about me just tonight. I like comic books. I like Star Wars. I like Napoleon Dynamite and his pithy sayings. Obviously, like Captain America, I have a brick phone that basically makes me look like Gordon Gekko from Wall Street. The sun. You should see the sunrise. I don't know what the line is, but it's really good. One of my favorite movies all the way. Those are little things that you pick up about people that you learn and you figure out how to apply. Hope that makes sense. Hope you like that. Thank you for the question. We got a couple more things here. Yeah, I love it. Carol, you're killing it. Fidget spinners, a musical instrument. Here it is. I got one. Musical instrument. I have a guitar in the corner. I won't show you it and I won't play it. Solar chimes. I don't know what solar chimes are, but I have found out that I have Alexa, and Alexa will play. No, Alexa, chill, relax. Thank you. She will play wind chimes for you if you just ask. So I think that's kind of like solar chimes. I also have like, what do you call it? A meditation bowl. I got that. I like that. I have a wobble board. I don't have a wobble board, but I have I don't know. I've got a skateboard in my office and I back and forth all day long. I don't know what a Bosu is, but it sounds cool. And a cat or two passing through are my office toys. Oh, those are all your things. I love that. You have to tell me what a Boso is, though, for sure. And then Pilates. Yep, she's definitely into Pilates and better than yoga. And she probably wouldn't stand up her clients for that. And plants. I have plants. I actually you can't see them in here, but I've got a couple of transplants that I'm getting to grow in the office. And I have this money tree out in the lobby and then one in my office because I want to be covered 100% on that aspect for sure. So I need that in a big way. All right, let's see here. Somebody's jacking with me. What is the hardest thing about connecting for you, Oprah? Well, Oprah, if I was on your couch and you were asking me this question, I would wait for a little bit for you to say, you get a car and you get a car and you get a car. And Steve, you get a car. The hardest thing about connecting for me is I'm introverted and shy. You have absolutely no idea how hard to get in front of new people is for me because I've always been this way, or to turn the damn camera on just to get up here and talk and worry about whether I'm going to have anybody who cares what I have to say. That's the hardest part, is having the gumption to put yourself out there. So Oprah, that would be my big thing. But I've always told people I'm introverted and shy. A lot of people don't believe it, but it is absolutely true. But it's not an excuse and it's not a crutch that you can use. And to be perfectly honest with you, we live and work in a relationship-driven economy. So if you don't consider yourself a people person, you have got to figure it out. Yes, it can be tiresome. Yes, it can be very exhausting, especially if people are not your jam. But here's the thing, unless you are lucky enough to live and work in a vacuum, you depend on other people for your success, personally or professionally. And the reality is that you have to find mechanisms to get connected. That's what I write about in this book. That's part of my door opener for a lot of people, is to how to overcome the shyness or the discomfort of getting out there and connecting. I do that because I myself have it. Getting up in front of an audience of whether it be 10 people, 500 people, I've rippled in front of 8,500 people at one time. Getting those people to actually engage and connect over a process that I call the 8-minute ripple. It takes gumption to do that, and a little bit of stupidity on my part because it's really scary. But at the end of the day, how else are these ideas going to find life? How else will they get out there if I don't say them, if I don't get there? So if you struggle because you're maybe in a leadership position and you don't know how to connect with your team, or you are at an event when we are allowed to go back to events and you have a hard time at a networking event, figuring out how to do your elevator pitch or how to make yourself memorable, how about not do the elevator pitch? And how about not worry about making yourself memorable, but be yourself? Allow people to connect and engage with who you are at the center. And here's the greatest thing. Here's the strategy that it uncovers it all, is get them talking about themselves first, because then they will open up. You'll learn things about them. You'll learn that thing that I call the connection point. And that connection point could be their favorite sports team, where they grew up, what they like to do on their weekends. Has nothing to do with business. But the business can come because you took the time to be different and because you have an opportunity to differentiate yourself from the herd. And so I don't think that I've actually uncovered any great mystery, but what I will say is that connecting is hard, and it is certainly can be intimidating and scary, but so what? So is breathing. Breathing's not easy, but you figured out how to do it. Walking, Jesus, think about that. Walking was not easy, and you figured out how to do that. You have the skill sets, and we all come out of the womb as we're looking for, trying to find ways to learn and experience things. We came out of the womb as connection creatures. We crave it. We need it. And the pandemic, especially now when we're isolated, kind of proves that. I told somebody on a podcast, Kimberly McKay interviewed me for a podcast. I'll post a link here again about that episode because it was so much fun. But, I told her that I've even seen more shy and introverted people that I know to be that way come out of their shell going, gosh, I used to think I didn't want to be around people, but now I really want to be around people because we can't. So for me, it is, that's been the hardest thing is putting myself out there, but I have been rewarded tenfold because I have. So if you find yourself in that situation, you've got to do what you can to break through that a little bit, not use it as a crutch. So got another. Oh, here's a gym toy. Oh, it's a gym toy dome dude. Both sides up. Oh. We were just talking about things that we have in our offices. I'm with you now. Yes, they. Oh, yeah, absolutely. I have a brother-in-law that has never met a stranger. Oh my God, he is a wheeler dealer kind of guy, not in a bad way, not a salesy way, but he is really intrigued when he gets to connect with somebody new. And he is the consummate rippler. So you're absolutely right there, Carol, for sure. All right. Okay. So we have a question, believe it or not, from Jeff from Ohio State University, which uses my book. Jeff, I think thank you for joining. We use your book in my college class. Our professor suggested we tune into this. Thank you, Professor. I wasn't excited to do it. Thank you for being honest. But now that I've heard you and your book has so much more meaning for me. Now that I've heard you, your book has so much more meaning. If I could read, thank you, Jeff. I really appreciate that. I know you guys are still on the second edition. The third edition is now available. So please tell your professor to contact me for special offer on the book. Oh, by the way, we also have merch, new hats. I dropped my other hat over there, but we have this in light gray and dark gray, and just makes a fantastic gift with the holidays coming. I mean, look at that. Just styling. This is one of the most comfortable hats I've ever put on my head. And let me tell you, I put a lot of hats on my head. This is not virgin territory. I mean, clearly I have a bad haircut, so I should have that more, wear that hat. But available now at ripplecentral.com. I just messed up my hair. Anyway, let's go. Let's keep going. Okay. You keep rippling, brother. The world needs more of what you have. Marcus, thank you. I appreciate that. That means the world to me. I will definitely keep rippling on, bro. I will definitely be doing it. I see you stay out of the political fray on Facebook, which is disappointing. Well, this could be somebody that we were just talking about a few minutes ago. So I'm just straight up asking, who are you voting for? Nice try, Ted. Nice try. Like I said earlier, I don't get into politics. I don't really get into religion. Look, no matter what I would say, I would offend somebody, right? At the end of the day, I vote for you, Ted. I vote for you to be a better rippler, to get out there and connect and engage and not slam me online later, which I guarantee I think I know who you are and you will potentially, because I went around this question and didn't answer it, which makes you feel like you're actually tuning into one of the presidential debates on either side. I'm Switzerland, brother. I am Switzerland. Okay. You suck. Your book is dumb. And I can't stand the sound of your voice. Me either. Oh my God. I don't know. You didn't put your name. Ted, is this you? It could be. Why do you think anyone would care what you have to say? Whoever you are, anonymous, thank you. I appreciate. I mean, I don't know. You're clearly here. You're clearly watching at some level. I think these, particular ones are coming in actually from YouTube. I'm not sure where they're coming in, but I tell you what, thank you for your opinion. Everybody's got one. Everybody should have one. And you haven't even read the third edition. How do you know it's dumb? I mean, come on. Seriously. I just started shipping for pre-orders. Even you pre-order people haven't had enough time to read it to know that it's dumb. So maybe you didn't like the second edition. Maybe you hated the first edition. I don't know what the deal is. But I tell you what, my email is steve@ripplecentral.com. That's steve@ripplecentral.com. You didn't like the book, I will give you a 100% refund. And I promise, if you just scroll by, you don't have to listen to my voice anymore. I mean, it's easy. Adios. That's fine. But if you want to come back, I'll be here hanging out. And I'll work on my voice inflection. Maybe I'll talk like this and say hello. No, that would be way different and not good. Anyway, thank you for your opinion. I appreciate it. As hurt, as painful as that was. How do I make a CEO understand that connecting with their team is essential to their success? Well, that's a tough one. That is a really tough one because I would say, I think it's Lisa Evans Brown. Thank you for watching, by the way. So you can't make anybody do anything. What you can do is sort of educate them about the value of what you want them to do. And so finding different avenues to explore why connecting can impact the company culture or the attitudes or helping keep people's focus in the right direction or accomplishing something. You lead by example, by how you act and how you respond, but also by sharing great articles, potentially great books that can educate, or Lisa, excuse me, put me in touch with your CEO. I will walk them through 3 steps that can make their organizations better by putting the impact of connecting on the forefront of the culture agenda. And I will say that because not only is connecting super critical to your internal team, but it's an effective and an important way to recruit the right kinds of people to your team, but also to retain them, but especially for prospects and customers. If you can find an avenue to create more connection with your prospects, the likelihood of your closing is significantly improved, right? You could potentially shorten your sales cycle, but also from a customer perspective, it's about retention of those customers, hopefully ongoing revenue. And then also, and this is a big one, turning your customer into an evangelist. And what do I mean by that? Well, your best customers are the ones that are out there telling other people about how great your product or service is. And that only happens when you've taken the time to connect with them. You've identified, deepened, and strengthened the relationship with them, which is what I teach people to do. And that doesn't happen unless you're connecting. And that doesn't happen unless you are leading that charge. And your CEO, whoever they might be, he or she, they need to be the number one connector of the company. And if not, they need to be working with me. I am that confident that I can change their perspective and their attitude. But I would just say lead by example, find examples that you can share, article contents, great videos, awesome books, and, start there. But I will say that a lot of times, a lot of organizations, they won't listen to their executive team. I'm assuming you're probably at that level. I don't know because I don't really know you, but maybe it's somebody you're working with or for. I don't know. But at the end of the day, sometimes getting an outside third party involved can be beneficial because you can say something 3 times, but they hear it a 4th time from somebody else and be like, oh my God, that's such a great idea. Never even thought of that. Why has nobody around here told me about this? I am blown away. And so that's kind of how that works. Thank you for that question. Will there be an audio version of the book this time? Ooh, sounds like another disappointed customer from our prior versions. Yes, there will be. And unfortunately for Ted, it will be this voice that records it because I tell you what, I read a lot of books by listening to them, but I go through a lot of books because I'm at the gym, I work out, I do a bunch of stuff on a regular routine basis, and audiobook seems to be the way to go. And I've had a lot of people that have asked me, but I'll share you a little personal insight about the audiobook and why it's important to me. So my dad does not see well, and my dad is challenged to read books. He can get it on Kindle, and if the Kindle will read it to him, that's one thing, but he hates the robot voice. But he is a consumer of audiobooks in a major, major way. And so I want to record it for him. The guy's going to be 86 years old. He's damn near blind, though New Mexico allows him to drive. So you go figure that out. But at the end of the day, I have promised him I will get him an audiobook, if for no other reason, because I want him to be able to hear all the great stuff that's in this edition. And personally, I don't want to sit there and read it to him. So if I'm going to read it out loud, I might as well just record it and then allow the world to consume it if they choose to in the audio netherworld. Oh, Carol, you got to go. Sorry. Oh my gosh. But thank you so much. I really, really, really appreciate you joining the live stream. Thanks so much for hanging out and all of your comments. You are fantastic. I greatly appreciate it. So I don't know who asked about the audiobook. There was no name on that, but thank you so much for asking. So we have a question out of Henderson, Nevada by Valerie Smith. Hey, I just looked in Amazon nor Barnes & Noble has it. Where can you pre-order this version of the book? The 3rd edition. Yes. 3rd edition. What's up with that? Well, let me tell you, Valerie, I have a love-hate relationship with Amazon right now because here's the deal. This book, it is beautiful. It's pristine. And every book I ship out to Amazon is pristinely sent with love and care. And I probably over the last year have sent 100 books. The book does well. I've sent way more than that, but I've gotten about 100 books back that went there like this. Perfect. And it comes back like it, I don't know, somebody ran over it, Mack truck, something. And it's very frustrating and very disturbing. And those are not sellable. I can't even sell them. Like, hey, the Ripple Man's got like a half price on the book. We don't even have that. Those books come back from Amazon. They're so trash. They're not even worth putting out there. I mean, I can use them for Kindling. That's about it. So I have elected, at least in the short term, to only have this book available on my website, ripplecentral.com. Barnes & Nobles, I know, has expressed interest. I need to get it up there. I've got colleges that order from some of the major distributors, I should say. So I'm going to have to figure out a way to do it. But I have yet to figure out if I'm going to put it on Amazon this go around because I'm tired of how they abuse my books. I am not happy about that. And if I was a major publisher or I was with one of the major publishing houses, they would probably protect me from that kind of thing. But I'm not. I'm just me. And it's a bad ripple, Amazon. I love you for everything else you do. But I don't know if you got like robot pickers going in there and they're just trashing my books when they do it. But that costs me money. This is not an inexpensive adventure for me, right? And so every book that you send back because you trashed it, Amazon, is no bueno. No bueno. It costs me money. Both sending it there, I actually lose money even more than just the book because I have to pay to get it there. And then I get charged because they send it back to me. Like, what? That's some crap. I'll tell you that right now. So, yeah, so I appreciate that question, Valerie. But for right now, ripplecentral.com, and we're accommodating all payment methods, Visa, MasterCard, American Express, all secure ordering, PayPal. We just found out if you pick PayPal and you select Venmo, whatever Venmo, that one, you can get that too. Just say PayPal and just instead of your credit card, just put in your Venmo info and boom, done. I'll even autograph the book for you and send it to you. And it'll come in pristine condition. Like it would have gone to Amazon, but probably not arrived to you in pristine condition because I don't know what's going on over there. But Amazon, you got to help me out. Not a good ripple. How do you come up with all those ripple thoughts? I think they mean ripple thoughts of the day that you put out on Twitter. Does your brain ever stop working? AK. Oh my God, AK. I didn't even know you were on Facebook, dude. Thank you for that. Funny story about AK. AK used to be our building guy. And he and I had, not this building, former building, previous company that I worked at. He and I had a love-hate relationship. Nah, it was really a love-love. Him, to me, it was probably love-hate because I'd have to point out all the things that the building had problems with and that we were paying to have fixed, but we're not getting fixed appropriately. So he would come and give me loads of crap about those things. But we ended up having this really cool friendship relationship. And AK, awesome. Thank you so much. I didn't even know you followed me on Twitter. I appreciate that. I didn't even know, dude, that you were on Twitter. So I'm going to have to go back and look for you. If you followed me and I didn't see you follow me, I apologize. That's just I'm so jazzed that you're on this tonight. So thank you. How do I come up with all those ripple thoughts of the day? AK, this, you will hate this. I'm just you being you. I meditate in the morning. I go and I work out, and then I go home, take a shower, because going to work stinky is not good. Bad ripple. And then when I get here, I make a cup of coffee or tea, and then I have AK, we have a really cool office building. You have to come check it out. It's pretty awesome. You would like it. No elevators to break down for you, brother. But we have this little space that I've carved out that I've made a meditation room. And the meditation room is where I go every day, and I just kind of get myself centered. I'll meditate on certain things. I use an app to do that. And I go through those things, but a lot of times those ripple thoughts of the day come in those times of quietness where I've quieted my mind and I think about things that are going on outside in the world or things that I've observed over the last couple of days in social media. And like I said, early on to somebody that was asking about writing, I always have ideas that are floating around that I keep on my or in my journal. And so I always have content available that I can kind of use to respark a thought of inspiration. So that's how I do it. But thank you for that question, AK. I have missed you too, my brother. I look forward to catching up and hope you and your family are doing well, and that your wife continues to give you copious amounts of grief every day because, dude, sometimes you deserve it. In all honesty, I'm joking, but not really. So, Barbara Milner asked me a question. So I know your mom suffered from Alzheimer's disease. I'm trying hard to ripple with my dad that is suffering from the same. Any advice? Wow. Barbara, that's tough. It's a tough situation. My mom suffered with Alzheimer's for 10 years. Did not live in the same town as her, so my time with her was pretty limited, unfortunately. Thank you for the question. I'm a little taken back by it because I wasn't expecting to have such a deep, question thrown at me. But first of all, let me just say, you as a caregiver, you just being around your dad, you're rippling already. Just being there, and it may seem like at the time that what you're saying and what you're doing makes no difference. I am a firm believer that person that that disease has maybe stolen their voice or at least their cognitive ability to recognize you in certain moments or times. They're still in there. Their spirit is in there. They are, they're super appreciative of the fact that you're there. Let me just tell you. And I consider you their hero in a lot of ways. I think anything you can do to just talk to your dad, bringing up old memories. There's studies that have been proven that if you can connect, stories back to some of the music that he may have liked in his younger years, just having that stuff on, you're creating a positive ripple for him. And here's the thing, it may not seem it at the time that they recognize or even understand what you're saying as they look at you, because they look at you like, why are you here? And it's just such a horrible freaking disease in so many ways. I hope that you have more time with him. I hope his condition doesn't deteriorate too quickly, because when you have these special moments with him, they're more for you than they are for him, but they're also for him as well. But the things that you do, the things that you say, believe it or not, are getting ingrained in here and will make a difference. And I got to say, they're just important. And I don't know. I mean, I guess I would say, don't beat yourself up. You're already rippling with your dad just by being there and, having questions and being authentic and just, showing up and saying you love him and holding his hand. And no matter how hard that might be or how much resistance they may give, it's nothing personal. It's nothing against you. It's everything to do with the disease itself. And so, tough, that's a tough one. So I don't know that I answered that question very well, but hopefully, I tell you what, my email is steve@ripplecentral.com. I'd love to connect with you offline if I can help you in any way in that capacity. certainly feel free to reach out to me. Again, steve@ripplecentral.com. And I would say, I don't know where you're living because you didn't put in your location, but I will say that the Alzheimer's Association has some really good resources and good information about that. The role of a caregiver or a family member that is trying to, do the best that you can with the time that you have left. And so, just keep at it and know that, we appreciate you for what you're doing. And I know how tough and challenging that is. So I really, really appreciate that. I feel like I did not handle that last question very well, but anyway, I'm sorry. It kind of threw me for a loop and we're a little bit over time. I had said I was going to end by 8:00, but let me just tell you, get my train of thought back really quickly. I'm passionate about this topic because I know what a difference rippling can make to your personal and your professional life. And no matter where you are with your career or where you are in your life, the process of connecting is an important aspect at every juncture. And I think that in this book, we've created some great ideas, shared some amazing ripple stories about the power of this process I call rippling. And I invite you along to the journey. The book legitimately comes out November 2nd, the day before the election. It's available for pre-order now on my website, ripplecentral.com. For those of you who have just joined, we keep getting people on and off, probably because they're tired of listening to me, so they bail. But we're not on Amazon, may not be on Amazon for a while. I'm going to record an audio version of the book, but I definitely would appreciate if you would check out the book on my website. We've got some promotions that we've got going on that I think you'll like. And when you order from my book, I see it. I am able to autograph it and personalize it and do something fun for you, or maybe for someone that you want to gift it to or ripple it onto. And so I just appreciate you guys tuning in tonight. I appreciate you paying attention. I know, everybody's got things going on. There's a lot of time and conflict, issues out there there's just a lot going on in the world. And so for you to even spend a few minutes with me is the honor of a lifetime. So I appreciate it. I am going to wrap this up right now and say thank you. I really, really, really appreciate all the questions. I appreciate the comments and all the insights. It looks like we got a couple on text that I did not get to. Here's another one. So last question, and then I'll leave this off. I have a friend that says, how does the ripple make a difference can the ripple make a difference in a world right now that's so full of negativity? I would say absolutely, without question. But it starts with you, and it starts with your ability and your willingness to step outside your box, connect and engage with people, even people that you don't maybe just, agree with necessarily, maybe have major disagreements with. But allow yourself to hear what they have to say, allow yourself to listen and observe their perspectives, and don't always assume that they're wrong and you're right. And, sometimes the safest bet is to stay away from the controversial topics and subjects and just learn about the person and connect with them. That's what we need so desperately right now in this country. We need people to just be kind to one another, to be willing to take positive actions out there to make a difference, to show and be the example of what a true and just society can be about, simply by casting that stone into the crystal clear pond. That action that you take, you have no idea how deep it'll go or how far those ripples will ripple out, but they always, always, always ripple back to you. So that's my story. I'm sticking to it. I appreciate you guys tuning in for tonight's live stream. As always, my friends, ripple on.